welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, World of Wrestling, here today to discuss about MMA news and rumors, episode number 9. I got three good stories to talk about here today. I'm going to go over it with you guys. In case you guys aren't aware, you don't follow my WWE, AEW content where I do my reviews on those episodes every single week on television. For the AEW Dynamites and the WWE Raw and SmackDowns, I am dealing with a head cold at the present time. So I do apologize if you hear me here and there clear my throat or possibly coughing. God forbid. But we got some good news going on here. Three stories that I think you all will be interested in. The first one is about the UFC veteran wants dictator Dana White to take action on Islam Makhachev, but Daniel Cormier disagrees with him. So, Ilia Topuria vacated the UFC title, as we all know, for the featherweight division, on the promise of a title match with Islam Makhachev, moving up to weight class to face the champion. However, the fight has yet to occur, despite Topuria teasing the clash of Makhachev, who seems to think either Arman Sakarian or Justin Gaethje are more deserving of the title match than the former featherweight champion. This has led to Topuria accusing Makhachev of ducking him, a sentiment which is shared by a veteran of the UFC. UFC veteran Ben Askren thinks Makhachev is avoiding a fight with Topuria. He told Daniel Cormier that Dana White should strip the UFC lightweight title from him if he refuses to defend it against El Toro in the octagon, meaning Topuria. I think Dana should just do Dana stuff and just say, hey, Islam, if you don't want to fight, you're stripped. He's done that. That is Dana White's repertoire. If you're the champion, you're supposed to defend the belt against the best person, right? So, Ilia has beaten 2 legends in a row. Not only beat them, but finished them as well. Having someone like a tyrant or dictator at the top able to force issues is kind of helpful, because it doesn't take a genius to realize that if Toro is vacating and moving, he's the second best and Makhachev is the first best. You make them fight, right? I agree with the commentary that Ben Askren is saying here, but Justin Gaethje, I mean, come on, man. The guy went ahead and is making a comeback for a UFC title match. The last opponent that he was supposed to face, which I just mentioned him, he's Askren, I believe, is how you pronounce his name. Let me see. Or not Askren, I'm sorry. Sarekian. Arman Sarekian. He was the last challenger for the title, and he never got a shot because of an injury issue. So he had to drop out of that fight. I think that was back at UFC 311. I get where Ben Askren's coming from, and it does make sense, but he also has 2 other challengers that he should give the opportunity to, and then Topuria could get the shot next. I don't think Topuria should have to face anyone in the UFC lightweight division, but I think he should be, willing to allow these other 2 guys to have their crack at the opportunity before he faces him for the title. I mean, I get the other flip of the coin, but what about the money making you can make from that fight, which I believe that fight would make a lot of pay-per-view buys. I think a lot of people would go after that. Personally, as a consumer of UFC content, it is very hard for me these days to want to purchase a pay-per-view every single month based on the way they are priced. They are priced at a very high value. If you want to buy their pay-per-views, they do give you $10 off before the weekend of the pay-per-view. They give you by the Monday before the pay-per-view actually happens, which there is risk involved because you could purchase the pay-per-view and one of their major fights could be dropped because of an injury or someone just dropping out of the fight altogether. So there is risk involved in spending that kind of money. Sorry. But at the end of the day, what are you supposed to do as the consumer? You could be taking a risk of throwing your money away. Some people can't even afford $69.99. They really can't. And honestly, I think that UFC being on pay-per-view with ESPN Plus is absolutely ridiculous. There has to be some sort of way for... I apologize. For the consumer to be able to have a fair shake at seeing the event, because obviously, if you got ESPN Plus and you follow UFC every single Saturday, when you could be doing something completely different, like going out and doing something with a girl, hanging out with your friends, and going doing other shit besides watching UFC, but you're dedicated, you love the sport, you want to watch it, you want to be a supporter of the product, make it a little affordable for people that can afford it. You know, what I mean by that is like make it affordable for people to afford the product. Otherwise, you're just pricing yourself out. I mean, I'm a follower of WWE and AEW. WWE at the present time is outpricing themselves in the market. People ain't going to go out and spend thousands of dollars on a fucking seat that's in the nosebleed section. I think UFC's got that same exact problem. It's just, you know, these people are money-driven people, which is fine, but once you price yourself out of the market, guess what, man? You ain't making money. You're going to start losing money because people can't afford it. Without us, you don't exist. It's a circular thing. It's like the world. It's like life. People are born, people die, all at the same time throughout the day. It's just the way it works. If we didn't die, there wouldn't be no room for people elsewhere on this planet. Shit, we can't even fucking fit people that are alive right now at this point. I mean, I don't know where anyone thinks that there's plenty of room for everybody. I live in the state of Florida, and man, everybody wants to come to fucking Florida. I'm getting claustrophobic out here, man. I want to get the hell out of Florida permanently because I just can't deal with this overpopulation shit. It's just too fucking annoying. I mean, this is my home. This is where I was born. I was born in Miami, Florida. And, you know, Miami is... Unless you're rich, you ain't fucking making it in Miami. You're living in fucking dirt. Fucking shitholes. That's all you're going to be living in if you ain't rich. Florida really is for rich people. This is not a state for the middle class. In all honesty. And some of these promotions in wrestling and in MMA and all that, they are outpricing themselves, making it where they're only affordable to the rich. And that's kind of crazy because there's a lot of middle class people. But hey, if you want to price yourself out, go ahead. People that can't afford it and don't want to spend that kind of money because they don't see the value in it, but they still want to watch the content and see how things go down, they're going to find other ways of watching it. Trust me. I'm pretty certain of it. So, That's just my viewpoint. Me personally, I think Islam Makhachev versus Tapoya in a main event for a UFC pay-per-view event is a great idea. I think it will get people interested and feel like the price is the right price for them to have to spend to go watch this fucking event. Straight up. I would definitely pay money to watch this match for this main event. I think it would be very good to watch and spend the money on. But that's just me. Future fights. There's actually rumors of UFC 317 title fight leaked as top contender begins 12-week training camp. There's a belief, Merab Dashvili, I believe is how you pronounce his name, Merab Dashvili versus Sean O'Malley 2 was just announced as the main event of UFC 316 on June 7th. That should be a good fight, but I think Merab's going to win that again. I don't think Sean O'Malley's got a chance. There have been no fights confirmed for the card that will take place in Las Vegas 3 weeks later. However, fans think that a UFC 317 title bout has accidentally leaked by Korea, France. Alexander Pantoja, Alexander Pantoja, the flyweight champion, might be facing Kai Korea, France, set for UFC 317. I am not a fan of this matchup. I really am not. I think Pantoja could easily mop the floor with Kyra France. I mean, I know he beat Steve Ersteg, but Steve Ersteg is the only person I've seen so far that even came close to beating Pantoja. So, I might be pronouncing his name. I keep feeling like I'm saying his name wrong. Pantoja, I believe is how you pronounce it. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the flyweight UFC champion. So, at UFC 305, though, last August, Kara France knocked out Steve Ersteg to put himself in contention for a UFC flyweight title shot. Alexander Pantoja is currently looking for a UFC opponent after beating Ascarea at UFC 310, which I think was a bomb of a fight. Easily, a very predictable fight overall. Nothing too exciting. And this took place in December. A recent post on Kara France's Instagram suggests he will get the next shot at Pantoja. Hill sprints with UFC flyweight Kai Kara France at JWebo 8 caption footage of him working out with the Aussie fighter. 12 weeks out from his upcoming fight as he is about to become the flyweight champion. Well, I'd imagine that this fight is actually taking place. In the video, Kara France references his next fight being about 12 weeks away, which would line up with the UFC 317. But he didn't mention an opponent or suggest he will be competing for a world title. Fan react to accidental fight leak. News of Kara France's accidental fight leak quickly spread around social media. Fans were quick to voice their opinion on the first fight with a concrete link to UFC 317. They just announced a fight that hasn't been announced in the caption. One fan laughed, while another added, hopefully not a main event. Yeah, I agree. I would not pay money to watch that if that's the fucking main event. Most undeserving title shot maybe ever. A third ex-user fumed. So International Fight Week co-main event it is, someone else said. Hope they are gonna be 3 title fights, one wishful fan commented. No facts, just free willing. A skeptical 6th social media user wrote. I agree though. I would not pay money. I would not pay $69.99. I wouldn't pay $79.99. Hell, I wouldn't even pay $49.99 for a fucking UFC pay-per-view headlining Pantoja versus Kyra France. I'm sorry, I wouldn't do it. Who the fuck is a Kyra France? Outside of the knockout he gave to fucking Steve Urseg, nobody fucking knows who Kyra France is. He's a horrible... He's not even a big name. Now, granted, I understand UFC is different from pro wrestling. Pro wrestling's focused on the name value over what title. This is about championships. Who's the champion? Who's the best contender for those championships? I get that. But Kyra France better not be a fucking main event with Pantoja, because Pantoja and Kyra France is not going to sell. The only people are going to be interested in is seeing Pantoja mop the fucking floor with Kyra France. Nobody gives a shit about a Kyra France. Kyra France is not anywhere near the name of any of these people. Brandon Moreno would be a better opponent for Pantoja. People would pay money for a main event fight between those two than this shit. Kyra France, yeah, he's a good fighter, but if you're a casual UFC fan, you don't know who fucking Kyra France is. Unless you saw UFC 305. That's it. It's all you're going to know of this guy. Otherwise, it's just, okay, he's the challenger, he earned the right to challenge for the belt, but as name value goes, star power, he ain't got no fucking star power, man. Steve Urseg's got more star power than him, and that's the only reason why people know who the fuck he is. It's because he beat him. That's it. Plain and simple. Motherfucker's been around for how long? I could look him up on Tapology and see how long he's been around. And Steve Urseg's been around a lot less than he has, and was able to manage to pull off an opportunity for the title because the guy is fucking exciting. The guy knows how to fight. He had a good fight with Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno, really, in my opinion, should have knocked him the fuck out, but I think Brandon Moreno was trying to play it safe. But let's see how long Kyra France has been around. Kyra France is 25-11 overall in MMA. Let's see what his record is in the UFC currently right now. 8-4. That's an average record, man. That ain't nothing to be screaming ho about. I mean, he lost to Brandon Moreno. He lost to Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi? Like, come on, man. Amir Albazi ain't even at the fucking UFC title range at this point. Okay, beat Cody Garbrandt, who's a former UFC bantamweight champion. I mean, that's good, but at that time in 2021, I mean, he wasn't all that great anyway. He was falling down the toilet. He was falling down the rankings, in my opinion. Rodrigo Bontorian, I've never heard of him. He lost to Brandon Roval. Brandon Roval? Who? What? Get the fuck. And he lost to Brandon Moreno not once but twice. Had 2 fights with Brandon Moreno, lost to him. Brandon Roval, who beat him. Brandon Reval beat fucking Brandon Moreno, and Kyra France is getting a shot at fucking Pantoja? Get the fuck out of here. This is fucking ridiculous. Kyra France is getting a shot. You gotta be fucking kidding me with this nonsense. What the fuck? Wow. Just because he beat Steve Ursay, who was a former challenger for the title. That, believe it or not, I'm one of those people that believe that Steve Ursay won that fucking fight. But it was very close. I'm not going to say it was a ripoff because, I mean, it was so damn close. You really couldn't. You could have given it to either one. I'm going to give Pantoja that much respect. But I think Steve Ursay won that fight, honestly. But Kyra France, saying he's got a 12-week training camp. He's going to face Pantoja. He didn't say it outright, but people are assuming he's probably going to get that match with Pantoja. I hope that's not the fucking main event, because if it is, God help us all. I wouldn't pay no fucking money to watch that shit. Last article I want to cover here is actually UFC Vegas 105's Josh Emmett reveals he was fighting at 30% for the past several years. Now, Josh Emmett's headlining the main event of this Cummings fight card, which I'm excited to watch. Lerone Murphy's an upcoming prospect that, with this win, I think could seal himself into the top 10, looking like a possible contender for the belt that he's in. And I honestly think Lerone Murphy could win this. He is a very talented striker. He's not a knockout artist like Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett could have the potential of knocking this motherfucker out. I really believe he could. But I feel that the age and the talent of Lerone Murphy should walk away with the victory by decision. I think that Josh Emmett is a very, very live dog to win this fight, though. I'm not going to disrespect Emmett in this fight. I've seen this guy fight before, on and off through my years of watching UFC. Sometimes I've watched UFC, other times I've cut watching it. And as of late, when I've got into my betting and so forth, I found that betting on MMA is probably the easiest fucking thing to do. Because what I do is, here, I'll explain to you guys what I do. There's a strategy to betting. Most sports bettors recommend people to bet on straight bets, right? And they recommend to at least make 1 unit per week. Okay? Or more, depending on how well you're doing. Now, let's say you have a $1,000 bankroll. That leaves you only earning $10 per bet. Now, let's say you went ahead and you took $10 per day, times that by 7. That's $70, of course. You do that for 4 weeks on betting on a UFC fighter from each card. Just betting one. And you can go all the way up to a minus 700. Which would mean you'd win 1 unit for that whole fucking week. If you can find odds a little bit lower than that, you'll be winning a lot more than that. You won't have to put as much in. And you do 1 bet per week on 1 fighter. You look for the weakest opponent on that card, and you attack it with that opponent, that fighter that's going up against that weak opponent. That is what I've been doing every single week. And I have yet, since January of this year, have yet to miss 1 locked-in fighter that I've chosen from each fight card. I have gone ahead and splurged on other fighters that, that's away from my strategy and what I've been doing, but it has helped me earn money. And have I stuck to this strategy, just picking 1 fighter per card and been patient about it, I wouldn't have suffered a single loss in this entire year. That's unfucking believable. Here's my strategy, and then I'll get into Josh Emmett. My strategy is I look up the UFC fighters that are on the card, and I look for the votes on Tapology, and then I look at the fighters on each fight on the card, and I look for each comparison of what their records have been in the UFC specifically, not anywhere else. Anywhere else, it's like comparing apples to oranges. It's not going to work. You have to compare their records within the UFC specifically. Then after that, the best thing to do is find some guys on YouTube that know what the fuck they're talking about and have shown over time their picks have been more accurate than not. I can give you guys some, people that I follow. MMA experts with AJ DeVito and his side, the guy that works with him on the side for their Moneyline show that they do once a week for an entire fight card, and they do their picks and they discuss it with Mike Finch. That is MMA experts. He's a very, very good content creator. He's very persistent and consistent with his content, and he delivers on most of his picks. The one video I would keep an eye after is looking at his MMA best picks or best bets. It's like a 30-minute video. He goes over his lock of the week. He goes over his favorites, and that's the one you want to focus on. His favorites. His favorites, 9 times out of 10, usually hit. Do not pick all 4 of them, because if you pick all 4 of them, there is a possibility you could lose, because one of them could possibly lose on you. He's not 100% perfect, but if you pick one of them, I promise you, you will get it right. Now, from that point, once you pick one of those fighters from his best 4 that you find that will definitely give you the highest probability of winning, you then look at the comparison between both fighters, the guy you want to pick and the guy he's facing, and compare their records to each other from the UFC only. Nothing else. And who they faced. And if you're knowledgeable enough, you get an idea what AJ has to say about how they fight, you will win 9 times out of 10. So far, I have won 100% of the time on each one of my locks per fight card. I have not lost once. My only reason why I have lost in the past, in the last, any time this year, has been the fact that I picked other fighters, but they weren't my actual lock. Had I just only picked one fighter that I locked in on, which has hit, I would have never lost a single bet. Because I was doing more than what I say, what my strategy is that I'm trying to do here, to be able to lower down the possibility of losing. So, greed is a very, very bad idea in this strategy. You have to be very patient, disciplined to just stick with one fighter on a card and stick with that. Then after you get done with that entire 4-week period, you take all the money, all the winnings you got, you add it to that 1,000, and then you start calculating. What's the 1% that I got? Okay, let's say you're averaging about $30 per weekend. Let's say you're doing that. All right? I'm going to get into the story of Josh Emmett, and then we'll close out here. Let's say you're winning $30 per weekend. That's $120 total. You add that to the $1,000 bankroll that you have. That's $1,120, all right? So at that point in time, you're looking at about $11.20 per bet. So $11.20 times 7 days, you're looking at $78. So if you want to round it out to $79, you could definitely do that. If you want to raise it to $80, you're not even going away from the realm of 1% out of your bankroll. So at the end of the day, you're still doing what you need to do. You keep an eye on that. If you start seeing that you take a loss here and there, calculate that and minus it out to what you've earned. That way you can lower the amount that you're wanting to put your bet in so that you're not draining it even more. But the key thing is consistently winning. And with my strategy, I have not lost one fucking time on a lock that I picked. That's fucking mind-boggling. But I'll save the rest of that for another video at another time. I think I'll get into that at some point because I do love betting. It's a fun strategy. It's a fun to me, it's like a battle between you and the sports book. Yeah, the sports book's always going to win, but it's a challenge. And I love challenges. And it is a very, very challenging thing to do. You're never going to beat the house. I mean, you get that mindset, you're going to beat the house, you're fucking crazy. You're not going to do that. They have the advantage over you every fucking time. If you're winning too much, they could ban your ass. So it doesn't matter. The idea is, how long can I go with winning without losing? That's the attitude I have. I just want to win. I don't care about, becoming a rich millionaire, being a sports bettor. If I could make money off of it as a full-time job like I do in my day-to-day life, that would be fucking fantastic. I'd be happier than a pig in shit. But to make it as becoming a millionaire, nah, that shit ain't fucking realistic. Ain't gonna happen. So let's get to Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett's on the horizon. The number 8th ranked UFC fighter, featherweight, steps back into the octagon against the surging United Kingdom star Lerone Murphy at UFC Vegas 105 this weekend, inside the UFC Apex venue in Las Vegas, Nevada. Emmett hasn't competed since his jaw-dropping and super scary knockout of the year against Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell facing Gene Silva at UFC 314. I'm telling you guys, Gene Silva, fucking lock. He will beat fucking Bryce Mitchell without a shadow of a doubt. So if you want to throw a bet on Gene Silva, just a straight up bet on him, you got a guaranteed opportunity to fucking win this shit. 100%. I ain't got no fucking fear or concerns at all about Gene Silva beating Bryce Mitchell. My only concern is if Bryce Mitchell can take Gene Silva to the ground. That's about the only concern I'd have. But if you do some research, you look at Gene Silva's fights against wrestlers, if he shows you something, or you hear from someone that knows what they're talking about, and you hear that he can't be taken down, or you look at his stats on takedown defense, if you see that he's not being taken down a whole lot, then brother, Gene Silva's knocking that motherfucker on his ass and knocking him straight the fuck out. It's that simple. And Bryce Mitchell's a known Adolf Hitler enthusiast. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, man. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Adolf Hitler? He's one of the most hated figures in the world. He did terrible things to Jews and other people that weren't German in concentration camps. And believe it or not, there are people out in the world that don't believe in the Holocaust. Which they should be on fucking drugs. They gotta be on fucking drugs to believe that shit. So that performance turned heads, but during today's UFC Vegas 105 Media Day, the 40-year-old admitted he's been competing at just 30% capacity for years, prompting his extended break. I could have fought, but I feel like I owe it to myself, my coaches, my wife, my family, my fans, and the UFC, Emmett revealed, The last handful of years, I've not been fighting at 100%. I've been fighting at a fraction of myself. So I had to work on myself and get back to 100%, and now I'm fighting and training the way I used to, he added. You guys are going to see something special Saturday night. I know what 100% feels like, and I know what 30% feels like, which is how I've been fighting the last few years against the best guys in the world. And yeah, there are fights I definitely want back, Emmett finished. But the first thing is, I've got to get through Lerone Murphy. If Emmett was crushing opponents like Mitchell at 30%, a fully charged version could be downright frightening. And he plans to prove it this weekend despite being decent size underdog. I feel like I've not been at my best in every fight. Emmett said I was getting worse. I'll tell you now, through over the course of the last 14 months, we've been working on my power and everything. And I can promise you, I'm so much more powerful than I was. So wait till the right hand connects, he concluded. And the writer thinks it was a scary thought. I will tell you guys right now about Josh Emmett. I would definitely bet on Josh Emmett. There's a chance he'll lose, which he's an underdog, so you could bet lower amounts of money and win a decent size of money back if he wins. So that's what I would do. I'd just bet a lower amount than what your unit size would be. So if your unit size, let's say, was $70, I'd drop it down to maybe like $25, $35, somewhere in that range. That way, you lose, it's not a big deal. And it doesn't take more out of your winnings that you've earned. And that's what I would do. Straight up. But yeah, Josh Emmett, he's a good underdog to bet on, I think, 100%. The age is about the only concern I have about Josh Emmett going into this fight. I think Josh Emmett's age might play a factor in this. But if it's true, if it was just the fact he wasn't at 100%, and he was able to get a fucking knockout that everybody was amazed by. Now, Bryce Mitchell is not the best stand-up fighter. So, him knocking him out like that, yeah, I get it. It makes sense that he could do that. But for him to do that at 30% capacity? I don't know, man. All it takes is one fucking shot. That's all it takes for stand-up fighting. In boxing, you don't have to be the greatest fighter in the fucking world. Now, granted, being a boxer, you have to have a strategy and a way of fighting and a style that works. But all it takes is one shot. It doesn't take... You don't have to hit with a bunch of combinations. You hit him right in that sweet spot. You hit him in the jaw. You hit him and you jack that jaw and move their head to left or right in awkward positions. Or you hit them right in the fucking ear or in the temple. Brother, you're going to knock that fucker out. There ain't no doubt about it. I've been watching boxing and UFC since I was a kid. And I will tell you what, every fucking time, I don't care how good your chin is, you get that jaw jacked, your ass is going out. It's just physics, man. That's all it is. It's just fucking physics. There's nothing to it. It's how you defend yourself from getting hit. If you can prevent the possibility and lower the probability of you getting walloped in those spots, then you're going to be able to make it through a fight. But damn, you get hit in those spots, you ain't getting out of that okay. I'm just telling you. It's just straight up. So, that's just the way I see it. But I see Josh Emmett as a possible dog that could get you some money. I just wouldn't bet the house on it, number one. And number two, I sure as hell wouldn't bet on Lerone Murphy. There are people out there saying Lerone Murphy's a lock, this, that, and the other. Even AJ DeVito from the MMA experts who I follow thinks he's a lock. I don't. I do not think Lerone Murphy is a lock. I think Lerone Murphy will win this fight based on age and his skills. But, like I said, all it takes is one shot and you're out. So, hey, Josh Emmett's been well known, and I watched this guy when he was in his prime. This guy has been well known to knock people out. He's been up and down in that top 10 for many years. He's never gone below a 10. Well, he might have, and I've not been I didn't watch UFC like heavy back when I was younger. It was on and off all the time. I tried to stay with it, but other times I just lost interest in it and just focused on wrestling. But I will be straight up honest with you guys. Josh Emmett, at 40 years old, ranked number 8th in his division? Get the fuck out of here, bro. He's doing something right. He's got to be that good. And if he's that damn good, number 8, 40 years old, he's knocking guys out at 30%. I don't give a fuck. I would place money on him if I'm okay with losing the money. My concern is just winning. I want to take the highest probability. I'm not taking gambling, tactics here. But if you're okay with losing the money, I mean, like, you can afford to lose it. It's not a big deal. And you want to bet on them, I recommend it. If you don't, you want to stick to if you're trying to do what I'm doing, I wouldn't bet this fight. I kick back. I enjoy the fight. Be a fan. That's one thing I've learned from this betting shit. Do not get so heavily involved in the betting side of things and watching sports. Learn to watch the sport because you love watching it, not just because you can make money off of it. That is what I've learned over the last year or so, betting on sports. If I can't sit through it without worrying about having a bet on a game, then I'm not truly being a fan of the sport. And UFC, I feel that way with this. I love watching these fights. I love watching the technique. I love watching how these guys play chess with each other and trying to figure out a way of winning the fight. There's a strategy to this shit. And that's what I love about it. The same thing with football. I love watching football. I never miss a Sunday when the NFL starts. I hate that the NFL is not on year-round. I wish it could be. I fucking watch, or have a league that's equivalent to the NFL, which there ain't nobody fucking equivalent to the NFL. The UFL's shit. I literally saw the stats of these players, and my God, like, please. Their stats were worse than last year's. Their viewership has gone straight in the fucking toilet compared to their opening week 1 that they did last year. It doesn't even come close. The players, the rosters all changed. The whole fucking roster's changed. Who the fuck cares? The only thing close to the NFL that I could possibly sit down and watch and not have to bet on it is the Canadian Football League. I love watching Canadian football. It's just, it's not always on television. So, and there's a game every single day throughout, from Thursday all the way to Sunday, which is fine because you can watch all the fucking games and not miss anything. And they're not overlapping each other, like the NFL does. So you only get to watch certain games that you can watch. Whether it's in your own viewer region, or the fact that you have the NFL Game Pass, or NFL, the thing that allows you to watch all the games while they're going on simultaneously. I mean, you still can't even watch all of them individually because they're overlapping each other, so it's impossible to do that. But yeah, if you're gonna do this betting shit, you gotta also make it where you're betting on it because you also love watching it. You could sit there, you don't feel the urge to need to bet on it just because of just for the sake of being able to bet on it, so you have some reason to be entertained by watching it. That's stupid. That's not what you do. Learn to be a fan first and bet on it at a second. That's what I've learned in this shit. And I love UFC. I am a fan of this sport. Yes, betting has helped me gain an interest in it, but based on the fact of doing research, understanding the strategies on how these guys fight, it has helped me also gain a love towards the sport to where I don't need to bet on every fucking fight to enjoy it. I just enjoy it. Plain and simple. That's it. So, that's all I have to say at this time, guys. I know I kind of went off the rails on this last topic on this article with Josh Emmett because it was based on his odds of winning and so forth. So I apologize to all y'all kind of going off the rails there. I hope what I stated to you guys was helpful. If you guys would like to see me give you guys like my UFC best lock of the of that week, granted they're not going to be like minus 155s or plus 100, in the plus 100 range or anything like that. But easy picks that will help you win without having to stress over the fact that you might lose. I can definitely deliver that to you guys, but there's no guarantee that you're going to win money betting with me. You will guarantee to win, but you might not be winning the kind of money you want to win. Just saying. It's a slow process that will take a long time to do. And if you guys want to join me on that, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. I might consider doing that anyway, see how the viewership is and see how people are about the idea. And if people are tuning in and wanting to take a look at my video and see where I'm at, great. But that's all I have to say at this time, guys. So you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. Thank you guys very much for watching. And have a great night, guys. Bye.